But what about the normal garden plants?
Normal garden plants are a completely different story. Now, there are still a few plants that I treat, I'll call it rose-like, and one of those is, as a category, hosta. I don't like to mulch under hosta. It allows the little slugs to hide come early morning. At this point, probably 4:30, 5:30 in the morning. They withdraw from the plant they've chewed on all night. They hide under the mulch in little crevices that I can't get a pesticide to. Then they come out the next night and do their evil tricks again. So I like to keep the soil under hostas bare.
And, as I always tell my wife, if there are a few holes in the hosta plants, I say, well, slugs have to eat too.
That's right. There is a truth in that. I've got a few, though, that have gotten away from me, and they're going to eat the wrong thing here shortly.
Oh, yeah.
But hostas are, again, what I call a bare earth plant. Now, let's go to then the lilacs, the forsythia, the small trees of any and all kinds, the big trees in any and all kinds. By and large, we're into that hot, dry period, have been now for a short time, and it's okay, matter of fact, preferred if you did mulch roughly that mid-May period. Anytime thereafter, and now, most assuredly, because we're into heat, the soil can dry out. The top 2 inches can dry in the course of one hot day with a good breeze. Not damaging to that point, but then the next day it dries down another 1/4 of an inch, and then another 1/4, and all of a sudden we've got plants that are only, their roots are by and large from 1 inch below the surface down to 10 inches below the surface, and pretty soon they're getting darn good and dry. So mulch then is only our use of originally byproducts, to create what Mother Nature's been doing for the last few million years. The debris falls from trees, the limbs fall, the trunks fall, everything biodegrades, and if you walk through any woods in Ohio that has not been disturbed recently, you'll find 1 to 3, 4, on occasion, 5 inches of debris, be it twigs and leaves and various other things, stacked up on top of the soil. Now, in the case of Mother Nature, it comes down little bits and pieces, so it's loose and very, very porous. So I would recommend a loose and porous mulch. I don't care what it is, really. Few tips in a minute. But still, in our case, though, around a home, I don't like to ever see more than 2 inches, 2.5 perhaps, of any kind of mulch at any point in time. Mm-hmm. Now, this is year-round. And once you start mulching, you really should continue because it's good year-round. But when it comes to refreshing, let's just say you have been mulching for years, and last year's biodegradation of the various products you've used dropped that from 2 inches down to 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. Go through with a steel-tined rake, and don't dig into the roots below. Just scruff up the mulch a little bit, fluff it up, if you will. Don't even have to work at it hard, most especially just the surface. If that does not then come back to a measurement of 2 inches, you take your choice of color, kind, and so on, put it back over the top, a thin coat usually, bring it back to 2 inches. You have emulated the floor of the woods. You have put a barrier there through which rain can enter, oxygen and or CO2 can leave the soil, and roots can thrive. They're kept moist and cooler at least, by virtue of mulch. I'm just checking now, 6 months from now and or 6 months past. Colder than we would ever like it to be again. The cold can't be stopped, but the depth of penetration and the course of events in terms of how fast can be controlled by a mulch. So mulch works in the wintertime, but right now it works as a matter of helping plants stay cool in the root zone. And I have stated this, I don't know how many times, but nothing happens right above ground until the roots are in good condition. Mm-hmm. And that's a simple, basic fact as far as I'm concerned. And nobody sees the roots. Those that have not studied the soils and studied plants and their roots, it's what happens above the ground. Well, let's think below by getting a mulch down. Now, I like to suggest that on almost all occasions where you're using mulch, stay back 2-3 inches and or more if you wish, but don't put mulch against the woody upper parts of a stem. I don't care if it's a lilac, a forsythia, a great big old maple tree, or your favorite 4-inch diameter flowering crab. I don't like to keep that root zone right at what's called the buttress flare. Instead of going into the ground like a post, that's bad when you see that, but instead of going into the ground like a post, trees' roots flare out right within 1 to 3, 4 inches above the ground. You like to keep that area barren of mulch. Then from there out to as much as the full width of the canopy of the tree or shrub is fine to mulch. And if you want to really do a good job for a mulching process, go out 3, 4, 5, even 10 feet beyond the canopy of leaves on a plant, because the roots are extending out that far and you can cater to all of them. Now that's asking for quite a bit. As a matter of fact, that's asking for a whole lot of bare front yards.
Yeah.
If you have several trees, that we don't want. But mulching, as a matter then of insulation, wood of any tree breaks down faster than the mulch of that same tree. Cypress is a bit of a threat because people did not understand how to use it. Cypress is so slow to break down, they kept adding 2 inches, adding 2 inches, adding 2 inches. Well, it would not biodegrade,
right,
which is part of why you buy it, but it was used wrong. So let's just say that cypress is still good when used properly. Now we come to other barky materials. I prefer bark. I love pine bark. Big nuggets the size of my fist, clear down to what's called the fines. And then after mulch, breaks down, I like to mix it in with organic matter, other compost and so on, because it's a fantastic starter for roots of new things. But get down that 2 inches. Wood then being the shredded parts, be it pallets from other uses in this world. Whatever it may be, they'll break down fast. There is nothing in the world wrong with that, but they break down so fast that the bacteria that are breaking them down, needing oxygen, needing nutrients, very much the same as our plants do, can rob the nitrogen from the soil. So give the area a little bit of extra fertilizer, and that's all you have to do, and you can then use any mulch you want, but 2 inches, and keep it, let's just say, in a good nutrient situation.